Hello and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, we are on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Our TV stations, both in the same place no matter where you live in our coverage area. Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 if you're in Bingham Farms, the city of Birmingham, Beverly Hills, or the village of Franklin. We thank you for tuning in on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. And of course, if you're in West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Orchard Lake, or the prettiest little city in Michigan, Sylvan Lake, we thank you for tuning in on Civic Center TV and on civiccentertv.com. You can tune in to us wherever you're at on our website, on our Watch Live link, watch the Megacast, and all of our other original programming in high definition and on demand on our website. In addition, we're on two great radio stations. Of course, 89.3 Lakes FM, live streaming online on lakesfm.com, and 88.1 WBFH, The Biff. The Biff, of course, is a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and we thank station manager Ron Whittables for bringing The Biff on to our network of stations each and every day, providing news and information to the public about the coronavirus pandemic and much more. In addition, today, our Facebook partner, we partner with a local organization every day on the program to bring even more people information via Facebook Live. Today is the first of many upcoming OU Fridays. Oakland University, our Facebook partner today, and we will be shortly speaking with their provost, Dr. Michelle Piskulich, Ph.D., on the program, our first guest today. But before we can do that, we have to go through today's top headlines. A lot of coronavirus news today, including our top story in the local area. Police have closed a Walled Lake beach due to coronavirus concerns. Mercer Beach is now closed to the public. The police department in Walled Lake said the closure is because the beach is consistently overcrowded and unable to operate without violating the governor's executive order. The police chief determined a closure is necessary to reduce the transmission of COVID-19 and protect Walled Lake's public health, and ordered barricades block off the beach access until further notice. Violators will be issued a warning if they fail to comply, and if you continue to fail to comply, violators may be arrested for those violations. And we will have Erica Jones out at Mercer Beach later on in the first hour of the program to provide more details on this. She is currently speaking with the Walled Lake Police Department to get exact details on why the shutdown, what are the problems, how long people can expect to have this beach closed down. So for those of you watching in Walled Lake and who are hoping to go to Mercer Beach maybe this weekend or later on today, that beach is closed, and we will have more details on that later on. But this is something we've seen in other municipalities too, that the city officials or police departments have closed the beaches down in an abundance of caution because we're in the summer months. People want to go to the beach, they want to have fun, they want to go swim in the water, lay out and tan, read a book on the water, and that can cause some overcrowding. And with social distancing measures being so necessary right now, as we're in still a little bit in the thick of a minor spike here in the state of Michigan, these decisions may be a little more common as we go forward.
And every beach is different. I live in Keego Harbor. We have two public beaches, but they are very small. And so we were one of the last public beaches in the area to reopen. And one of the reasons was the concern of the size of the beach. And you have to remember, this has been an extremely hot summer. We've had multiple days of over 90 plus degree weather. And so what's the first thing you want to do? You want to go cool off. And so you go to the beach, so you have more people there, which is then causing the overcrowding at some of these beaches. Again, public beaches such as Mercer Beach, this is a decision of the city and the municipality that you're in. So if you're looking to go to a public beach, you're not sure if it's open or closed, you can contact your city hall or look on the municipality's website. We have many of those municipalities' websites on our website on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. So if you're looking in the city of Keego Harbor or Sylvan Lake, other cities that have waterfront like Bloomfield Hills and Rochester, for information on public beach closures, you can go to those municipal websites. For private beaches, check with the owner of those beaches.
for more information. Other news making headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Coronavirus cases are down in Michigan prisons, but still a concern. Active cases of COVID-19 in Michigan's prisons have fallen since the novel coronavirus tore through the Department of Corrections in the spring and infected 10% of the incarcerated population. But experts, staff, and prisoners say now is not a time for complacency. All state prisoners have been tested for COVID-19 at least once, a result of mass testing that began in April at certain facilities with outbreaks and was expanded the following month. Of the 37,192 prisoners tested, results for 3,871 were positive. 11 people among the current population of more than 35,000 prisoners have active infections, the Michigan Department of Corrections Director Heidi Washington said when testifying to the Senate Oversight Committee. None of the prisoners sick with the virus are hospitalized, she said. The department is continuing to test prisoners on an individual basis. And this is one of those situations where people are in really close proximity to one another. There's so much common area in these prisons, at least the ones that are not as higher security. And so there is a potential for more spread in these areas. And as we mentioned in that article, they did talk about the initial outbreaks early on where 10% of the incarcerated population were infected in early spring. So keeping on top of that is going to be so important to protect these people who are imprisoned at this point in time, but still are entitled to their health.
Prisons, you cannot socially distance in a prison or even a jail for that matter. But to me, this is kind of good news in that for all of us to look at, because if you can control the coronavirus in a setting such as that, hopefully that means overall in general population, we're going to continue to see these cases go down. And just like SARS went away, let's hope one day soon COVID-19 goes away as well.
More headlines, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. The update on coronavirus cases in the state of Michigan. Michigan reported 7 coronavirus deaths and confirmed 699 new cases of the disease on Thursday, the highest single-day count in 8 days. The 7-day average of new coronavirus cases in the state of Michigan has dropped slightly to 586 per day, down from 594 as the daily total average from the previous 7-day period, according to state data. Last week's total infections were an 11-week high for new cases, with 4,232 new cases confirmed over the 7-day period. This week to date is on track to record fewer cases than last week, so there's some good news right there. The state's overall count reached 75,947 known cases, and the death tally is now at 6,148, according to the latest update from the state. Hospitalizations due to the disease are relatively low, relative to the surge, in the spring, but are trending up as time progresses during this current spike of the virus. And so we're continuing to see things kind of level out around 450 to 600 cases. But that being said, even with a slightly lower daily average than last week, where the article does say that we're seeing hospitalizations slowly begin to trend back up, all the more reason for continued caution in regards to COVID-19.
I think the younger generation is starting to get the message that they are a factor in the spread of this virus, because we saw the case in Harper's connected to 200 cases throughout the state. And so I think by making big examples of that case and then the beach situation over the 4th of July weekend, the younger generation, a lot of pressure is kind of being put on them to abide by the mask rules and to be respectful and limit your interaction. So hopefully, if they start to comply, we'll start to see these numbers continue to go down. Everybody
needs to take the proper precautions against COVID-19 to prevent the spread, regardless of your susceptibility to getting the virus or having more severe symptoms. These case numbers and death toll numbers are recorded on the daily. They're being tracked by the state of Michigan. But it's interesting. We have a great article on our website on civiccentertv.com asking the question, how are these daily coronavirus numbers compiled? The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is explaining how that is done. Initial tests results are sent to the Michigan Disease Surveillance System by the lab that performed the test. Once the data is tabulated by the computer, any remaining discrepancies are reviewed and resolved by staff members. The process includes specific protocols to handle people who have more than one test or living in a different county than the one where they were tested. Jim Collins, the director of Communicable Diseases Division, said, quote, "Every morning our staff is looking at the laboratories before we report out to make sure that cases that the system thinks might be the same, but can't say with 100% confidence, are evaluated by human eyes," end closed quote. So they're tallying these numbers from the labs where these tests are coming out. Maybe that's a little bit of a part of, as we spoke about previously, those delays at the labs, as they're not only getting these test results for the patients who are being tested, but also for state data as well, which is arguably just as critical. So maybe that's a little bit of a reason for the delay, but it's also good to know that any discrepancies are being looked at by people on the front lines on the state side tracking this virus to make sure that these numbers are accurate and are reflective of where we're currently at as we continue to fight this pandemic.
Computers are great, but it's only as good as the data that's inputted into the system. So you need to have the human experience double check and triple check some of these numbers and this data before releasing it to the public. I found this article extremely interesting because I've also had a few people tell me that they were signed up to take a test, but they never actually went through with the test, but then their test came back positive. They got a result saying they tested positive a week or so later. So there seems to be discrepancies and issues within these numbers. So having this article explain exactly where the numbers are coming from, they're coming from the labs, and this is how it's put together, is very eye-opening for me. And I think everyone should take some time to read that as well.
With this much sense of urgency on tracking the coronavirus in the state of Michigan, throughout the United States as well, and around the world as we continue to battle this pandemic, there's so much information coming in. There are so many variables at play that some information is going to ultimately slip through the cracks, but it's that second check where if something doesn't look entirely right, somebody's putting their eyes on it, they're investigating it, they're looking at it and determining, is that correct? Or are we being deceived by the numbers, by the computer systems, by the other systems that are at play to make sure that we are providing accurate information to the public? That information and more in articles online on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. In addition, you can find information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and many of the municipalities in our local coverage area. In addition, you can go to civiccentertv.com/megacast and find more information on our website about our partnering stations and watch full episodes, short clips, and full interviews from each and every edition of the Oakland County Megacast as we continue to talk to experts from around the local area on a variety of issues, including what's going to happen with our schools coming up in the fall. That includes our K through 12 schools and our schools in higher learning, including our first guest today and our Facebook partner, Oakland University. What's going to be happening there? How are they adjusting to the many variables at play as they approach fall learning? And joining us now is Dr. Michelle Piskulich, who is the Interim Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost at Oakland University. Michelle, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate having you on. So how are you? How's your team doing at Oakland University?
Well, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Our team here is very busy getting ready for the fall semester, and actually we're in the middle of our summer semester, so things are hopping here.
So as we continue to battle through this pandemic, there's so many variables at play. We're at a point right now where we're in a little bit of a spike, but the numbers are starting to level off a little bit, and that caution is still very much there. So as Oakland University is conducting its summer classes and preparing for the fall, how is the operations of summer classes and summer courses playing into the plans going into fall, working out what works and what maybe doesn't work and what may be most opportune as you have more students returning to campus in the fall?
Well, thank you for that question. It is a very important one. We are still mostly online this summer. We do have some of our clinical courses running in person, some of our laboratory courses running in person, and we actually have one lecture course running in person. It's actually both running in person and online, so that students could choose which where they felt more comfortable being. But what we are trying to test is our circulation patterns, our any issues we might have with clarity about expectations, and just thinking through, okay, this happened, in a very controlled sense. What extra steps might we need to take to adjust for the fall? So, I actually, so far, so good. We are not. It feels like some of our thinking has paid off. And so we're very hopeful that we've anticipated as much as we can.
Many local school districts have plans in place because of the Michigan Safe Start Plan and Michigan Safe Schools Plan, hybrid learning plans in place for the fall, where, as you mentioned, students have the option of, I can be in class or I can be fully online if I'm not comfortable coming to campus, or if I decided that it's in my best interest, in an abundance of caution, to telecommute to campus each day for my classes. Explain the hybrid plan at Oakland University. How is that going to work? Is it going to be a situation where you have students that are in class learning in an in-class pace, and then students online have set courses? Is it going to be kind of a live situation where someone's learning live from the lecturer over the internet while everyone else is sitting in class? How's that going to work at Oakland University?
Well, it's actually a mix of all of the above. We have, for us, hybrid typically means that it's a mix of in-person and online for the student and the faculty member. So, students may come to class one day and the other day they're online. Or in this environment, because our classroom capacities are limited, the faculty member may be a constant in the class, and the students actually rotate through so that they have some one-on-one time with the faculty member. So we will be, hybrid means that some portion is in class, some portion is online. For students, what we are trying to do is make sure that if they aren't able to come to class or don't feel comfortable coming to class, we definitely want them to stay home if they're not feeling well, that we're recording lectures or live streaming lectures, or in some cases both, so that students are able to make wise decisions about their engagement on the campus.
What about the students that want to return to campus and live in the dorms? How are you addressing that issue?
Yeah, we are having students in the dorm in the fall. It will be at a reduced capacity. We've worked with Oakland County Health Division to discuss what they believe was a safe plan. And there are others on campus that can speak more specifically about what's going on, but I can tell you that there's a lot of focus on cleaning and how to make certain that students are able to get their food in safe ways. There'll be, I know that they're talking about how to manage the lobby space and those kinds of things. One aspect of the fall plan is that all the students who come into the dorms have to have taken a COVID-19 test, and we're also discussing some additional measures that we believe will help with detection and contact tracing, so that if there is an outbreak of some sort, or a positive case, I would rather think of it as a positive case, that we can respond quickly and minimize its impact.
Joining us on the Oakland County Megacast is Dr. Michelle Piskulich. She is the Interim Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost at Oakland University, who is also our Facebook partner today on the Oakland County Megacast. So in March, we had such a swift transition for all schools at all levels, from in-person learning to having to go to virtual. And as we're approaching the fall, and there's still so many variables at play, what's going to happen in the fall in terms of coronavirus cases? Are we at risk for a second wave? Is the spike we're experiencing now going to lead to a surge in cases? Are we going to have a variety of different situations are at play that could play into what plan is in place at Oakland University and other places of learning. How has the transition that was made in March prepared Oakland University for future variables that may be at play and swift transitions going forward?
Well, one of the things I would say about March was we transitioned from being mostly fully in person or hybrid, which again is in person, to a fully online. And that was a huge lift for the faculty. People, I don't think most people understand how much different online teaching is than in-person teaching. There's a completely different way of approaching a course. So our faculty rose to that challenge, and I am so impressed by what they were able to do. We did a lot to help them, but they really made sure that our students were able to see their way through to the end of the semester, and that it was a successful semester. What it's done is that it made us focus on the training needs to make certain that the faculty had the tools available to them to make the experience for our students in an online classroom as valuable as it can possibly be. And these can be very high quality, engaged experiences if people know what they're doing. So we actually have invested a lot in training. We over this summer have trained, or by the end of this summer, we'll have trained 250 additional faculty in quality online teaching. We also, that's a full certification course. It's 4 weeks of intense work. They develop curriculum during that period of time while they're also learning new techniques. We also have a shorter course that faculty can opt for that is sort of that quality online teaching course and a more self-paced course that they can do at their own on their own time without having to be engaged with specific deadlines. So we've trained a lot of additional faculty in that way. We've created help documents, and for both faculty and students, we hired additional people to help with the transition. So we're in a better place, actually, than we were in March, partly because we now know what the demands on what the workload is for both the faculty and the staff.
Do you think this model will remain in place post-pandemic?
Well, what's interesting is that some of the faculty have actually realized that online teaching wasn't what they thought it was, and are more positive about online, what can be accomplished online. So what I would say is if the pandemic were suddenly to end this year, that there a lot of the faculty will come back and want to be in person because they like students or they wouldn't be faculty. But what I have been, as I've been talking to some of my faculty colleagues, what they're telling me is, I've learned some things that I think will make me a better teacher regardless of where I am, because now I have new tools available to me. So it just enriches the options for how you teach your courses, how you might engage students in different kinds of activities. It's another toolkit. And so I felt very good about that. And I suspect that the percentage of online courses will remain slightly higher, both because students recognize the flexibility it gives them and demand it, and because the faculty realize that maybe this particular course actually works better in an online format. I can tell you from my own experience, I taught a course online years ago, and what I taught the same course in class, and what I discovered was that sometimes that quiet student that doesn't say anything in the class, it has a lot more to say and online, and that I could engage very thoughtful in discussions online. So there's some aspects about it that can be very positive.
Dr. Michelle Piskulich with us. She is the Interim Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost at Oakland University, our Facebook partner today on the Oakland County Megacast. So as we're approaching the fall, and that's often a time where a lot of new students are coming in to Oakland University, whether they're starting their college experience or they're transferring in during their undergrad or coming in for graduate and doctorate programs. It's always a transition for them that's a little bit tough, especially for the freshmen coming in who are learning that independent student lifestyle on campus, off campus, whatever the case may be, for the first time. What kind of provisions are in place at Oakland University preparing for these students coming in under these circumstances to help them with that transition? Because I know from my experience going in late to Michigan State, it was a huge transition for me from coming from a smaller school, a community college in the local area, and then from a relatively smaller high school. And I would imagine it's a similar experience for a lot of other kids who are coming into their first college classes and experiences on campus.
Well, we have a very purposeful approach to working with our entering freshmen in particular. That we have, they are assigned an advisor. They have required advising appointments that they must complete. And that makes sure that we're doing these check-ins with them. We are also making certain that we are purposefully engaging with them in other ways. So one of the things that we are talking about expanding some of our peer mentoring. We are looking at how we help the faculty engage with them. Most of our students come in and they take a first-year writing course. That course is intended to be one of the ways we purposefully connect them to a member of our faculty, because we know that students who have someone that they develop a relationship with are more likely to persist when the going gets tough. So I will say to you that our intent in the fall is to do everything we can to provide opportunities for those students to meet with us, see us, and in some cases that will be virtually through Google Meet or some other software package, or our student-facing offices will be open. They will have a presence, assuming that nothing changes and we're able to do this. We obviously cannot have all our staff in an office while we're in the current stage of the coronavirus. But we do want to be certain that if a student walks up to an office that they normally would receive service in, that they will not find that office closed to them. So we're determined to be just as engaging as we always are, just using more modalities in order to achieve that.
And the college experience is so tough for multiple reasons, beyond the classroom, whether it be in the classroom or outside of the classroom, and especially with an ongoing pandemic, with all the other struggles that are in place in people's lives right now as a result of COVID-19. What is Oakland University doing in terms of supporting the mental health of its students and its faculty as we continue to battle through this treacherous time?
Well, one of the things we have really worked hard to do is our Graham Health Center does a fabulous job of reaching out to students and really providing the kind of support that they need when they're struggling with some mental health issues or just anxiety. A lot of it's anxiety issues surrounding just pressure that they feel, and certainly now that pressure is very high. So the Graham Health Center has been able to pivot and do virtual groups and individual visits through telehealth. We certainly work with our faculty. We have resources that they can take advantage of when they're feeling stressed. We've been trying to communicate some of the different ways in which people are able to get assistance if they need it. One of the things that we do have is a great Dean of Students office that works very closely with my staff on issues that, sometimes we see these issues crop up as behavioral issues within the classroom, and we work together to make certain that student gets that support that they need. We were able to do that in the winter semester when, frankly, it was more difficult because students couldn't even go to a coffee shop to use Wi-Fi and do their work. Some of them were having problems with connectivity, having a quiet place to do their coursework. And that stress, we were hearing about that stress. And so we also have a crisis line that they're able to call, and even members of my staff answer that helpline to make certain that people are getting directed to services and are able to thrive in our environment.
Dr. Piskulich, anything else you'd like to touch on today, or any other important information that we should be talking about before we go?
Well, I would just say that one of the things that I think is going to be very important for students and faculty and staff coming back in the fall, Oakland University has said that masks are a requirement. Face coverings, masks are a requirement. Every student, faculty, and staff member will get a reusable, washable face mask that they can use, branded for Oakland University. Everybody's going to be doing health screens. Everybody's going to be required to sign a pledge. So we expect people who are going to be on our campus to practice social distancing, practice good hygiene, and to be respectful of other members of our community by protecting them by wearing their own face covering.
So real quickly, the face coverings, will they be required when they're on campus, like walking from one building to the other?
Yes.
So not just inside the classroom, it's going to be at all times.
Yes, and part of that is because it's very difficult on a college campus where you have pathways for people to stay physically distant. So that is our plan.
Well, Doctor, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it, and have a good day and stay healthy.
You as well. Dr. Michelle Piskulich with us. She is the the interim vice president for Academic Affairs and the Provost at Oakland University with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Really interesting to get that kind of an in-depth look as all of our state's universities and colleges continue to release their plans for the fall. And similarly, it's really interesting to see Oakland University following in the footsteps of the University of Michigan, who previously had announced that anywhere on campus, any public space on our campus, on our university campus, you're going to be required to be wearing your masks and maintaining social distance. That seems like that's going to continue to be the norm at a lot of these colleges and universities as they continue to adjust and pivot their rules approaching the fall.
Great information and important information for parents and students to hear and to understand before they decide whether or not they're actually going to go back on campus. Is it worth it for the parents to pay that additional fee for their students to learn on campus, or are they going to continue to, remotely do the online classes, doing remote, or do we make that decision to send them back to the campus, which is such a huge part of the college experience, but it's going to be different this year.
Things are definitely going to be different on college campuses, both at our Facebook partner, Oakland University, and we thank them again for being with us today, and at other universities and colleges throughout the state of Michigan. We're going to take a brief break, and when we return, we'll speak with a local artist about how artists in Oakland County, which has such a great art community, are being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and how they are helping people even get through this tough time in their lives. That and more coming up on the Oakland County Megacast on a family of TV and radio stations. Ronnie and I will return after this quick break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, Apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3. Wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4. Rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5. Dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6. If you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff. And we thank Oakland University on this OU Friday for being with us as our Facebook partner today. And appreciate having them on. Thank their entire team at Oakland University for joining us for the entirety of our program, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We are each and every day during the work week, Monday through Friday, with replays in the afternoons and evenings and on demand on civiccentertv.com/megacast as we continue to bring you news and information and the stories of the people of our community during this historic time in Oakland County, in the state of Michigan, and throughout the entire world. And it's impacting so many different sectors of our lives. It's impacting people in various businesses and schools and academics. It's definitely impacted us in television, news, and journalism, and it's been impacting our local artists as well. We have an amazing art scene here in Oakland County, and joining us right now is one of the great artists we have in our local area. Peter Bernal joins us now. He's an artist with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Peter, thank you for being with us.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing? How have you been?
So far, so good. I just heard y'all talking about the COVID crisis right now and how it's affecting artists.
Yeah. So elaborate on that from your perspective. How has the coronavirus pandemic been impacting artists? Because usually around this time of the year, a lot of our local artists are going out to art shows. We just had an art show in our local area right up the street from us that was canceled due to COVID-19. Arts Beats and Eats has now been canceled as well. This has to be having an impact on artists being able to go out, show their work, and even sell them in local shows.
Oh, definitely. It's kind of had a negative impact for sure. I would say obviously the most obvious one would be like financial, how to make rent and art supplies and all this other stuff. I feel like I'm pretty lucky because I'm used to, I guess I really adhere to sort of a bohemian lifestyle, and so I feel like I'm sort of a financial camel, so there's a lot of things that I feel like I can weather. So I think I'm ready for it. And also I'm kind of an introvert, so when when we were locked down, I felt like I was actually okay to thrive with my artwork.
In the times we're in right now, for artists especially, I've seen for musicians, for comedians, and even for people that engage in more fine arts like painting and sculpting, the use of social media and the web to promote your art and to get and to spread the word on the impact that art can have on people's lives has become so critical for you and for other artists that you communicate with. How critical has the use of the web and all these different platforms that we have in our times for communicating with each other been for spreading the word on your art and on artists in our local area?
Well, for me, ironically, I think it's enabled me to be a little bit more bold with the way that I present my work out in public. Like right now, for example, I'm doing some murals, and it makes me feel emboldened that I'm engaging directly with my audience. I'm sort of side skirting the internet. I have no problem with it. I appreciate that a lot of artists use it, as far as like making the art seen and having it available to people that are interested in buying it and showing. But for me personally, I've always kind of been on the periphery of the art world. I kind of like have this sort of philosophy that in order for me to operate as a healthy artist, I have to be able to weather the changes of our, environment and society. Like, for example, I ended up moving a lot and I don't like doing that. So, I just have to, that's kind of, I think part of the nature of being an artist is just being really tough. I think in order to succeed, you have to be able to weather a lot of blows. And that's just kind of the nature of the field, in my opinion.
So art is an expression of life. In your artwork, you display that so well in what you see. Going through this pandemic, do you think it will change what you're seeing and how you're painting?
I think definitely. I do. Yeah, I agree with you that art to me is like an expression of life. And for me personally, it's like an assertion of my worth and value as a human being. And this is my contribution to society. I think we all have different gifts and things that we want to do to contribute. Some people are plumbers, or some people are really gifted with mathematics and science. I think it's just, so far so good. I think it's making me grow in the regard that it's just making me take things like within history. It's like my artistic forefathers and foremothers had the similar situations with like one of my personal favorites is Peter Bruegel, and he had to live through the Black Plague and the bubonic plague. Yeah. And a lot of, like Picasso and a lot of those guys and ladies operated throughout the Spanish flu and so on.
So one of the things in your artwork, you are addressing some of the social issues, immigration, police brutality. What is your take on the protests that you are seeing going on right now?
Oh, more power to them. I hope I say this I hope the system crashes. I don't mean to say it sounds so like doom and gloom, but I really think that it's super late. It's time for like a second civil rights movement. A lot has been done since the 60s, but I think America and the West in particular has backslid a lot. I really think it's necessary.
Peter Bernal with us. Please go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay, Peter Bernal with us. He's a local artist with us on the Oakland County Megacast, and I popped in there just because it came up in my head as you were answering that question. A lot of the times, as we're moving through these different social movements in our country and other countries throughout the world, and just as as human society, we're expressing the way that certain situations make people feel in perspectives that we don't understand through art. And many times that's a way that gets through to people and communicates to people, this is how we feel. How critical in the times that we're in right now, as we have these major social movements that are gaining steam and are being felt and are in many ways starting to be listened to, how can art help to move those conversations forward and elicit some necessary changes?
It's kind of twofold. On the one hand, I think it sort of like riles people up. It sort of rallies a bit, kind of like a lot of great movements in art history, like realism and some, propaganda posters and this other kind of stuff that might have a negative connotation. But I do think that it does influence people, and that's really powerful. And on the other side of the coin, I think it's personal, that it really connects people to the act of making and this sort of act of creation that I also think is extremely important. To show, like, for example, for myself, it's helping me connect with the reckoning situation, like what my ancestors would have endured. I think sometimes we get caught up in our modern era and our conveniences and so on. I really feel like it's a little bit painful, but I also think it's really necessary and good. I think art is fantastic. It kind of makes me think a little bit, I don't mean to segue too much, but it makes me feel really attached to like people in history a little bit. Like my ancestors, for example, had to deal with the smallpox decimation, and it's like luckily with, modern science and everything, we're kind of really able to understand at least what's happening. I mean, I would say we would be better at handling it, but I think we're doing not so well right now. But anyway.
Peter Bernal with us. He's a local artist with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Just a few more minutes with you before we let you go. And I want to touch on, you recently, you mentioned earlier that you've been working on murals locally, and you recently finished a mural just off of I-95. Can you tell us a little bit about where that is, what people can expect to see, and what was the motivation behind that specific piece of art?
Are you referring to the one? Right now I'm working on on a mural that's off of 96, by the way, but yes. It's dealing with, again, with like the idea. Well, I guess I don't mean to preamble so long, but identity has become a really big issue, and it's kind of like, it's not by choice. It just has really become necessary within my art to do that. So I feel like when it comes to making murals, I want to connect my own personal experience with an experience that the viewer might have. We all have different identities. We all have different ancestries and whatnot, but I think we can connect to the idea that, like, for example, heritage is sort of important, but in my opinion, it's oh man, I don't want to go that way, so I'll just hold on a little bit. But I guess it's easier to say that I'm a painter, so it's easier to see it. It deals with Native Americanness and how this is a native continent, and I think all this sort of rallying about, like, oh man, one of the biggest triggers for this mural was like Amon Bundy, for example.
Yeah.
I really pay a lot of attention to politics and current events. This happened a few years ago, but I'm like, man, how can somebody claim that this is their land? That's not cool. So it's like, I just wanted to remind people that Native Americans are still here.
So let me ask you this. Excuse me, my brother is an artist. I can't even draw a stick figure. When you have a blank canvas, do you approach it with the vision in your head, knowing what you want to see come out, or do you just paint and what comes out comes out?
Well, I go through different modes. Sometimes it's different. I really feel like Rocky when I see an empty canvas. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be great. I'm going to make like the greatest painting ever. And I want to. It's like you have an idea that you really want to share, or like you just got something to say and you just want to say it. Other times where I'm just like maybe more moody or having like I have mental illness, so I have to deal with that a lot. I feel this obligation to do it, and it feels good, and it's a duty, and to me it's nothing but healthy, and I love art.
What would you say to someone out there who has a passion for art, but maybe they're being influenced by their parents or loved ones not to go into art as a career? Do you have advice for them?
I say express yourself. Find some way to do it. If not, maybe painting, maybe the practicality of the career might be, it's something that a lot of people actually have to deal with. But in my case, I had no choice. I had to do it. And I think a lot of artists operate that way no matter where they come from. And I think it's just be honest with yourself is number one. If you want to be an artist, do it, but do it full bore, in my opinion.
Peter Bernal, thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. You have a good one. Peter Bernal, local artist with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And if you have a chance, go ahead, go on to your search engine of choice, look up his art. He has such beautiful paintings and other pieces that I think you would really enjoy. And it was a joy to talk to him today about art and the impact that can have on us continuing to move through these incredibly nuanced and interesting times that we're in, where there's so many different issues that we're working through. And the expression of the human experience through art is a way that provides an outlet for people's frustrations and their confusion and their uncertainty about what's to come with the COVID-19 pandemic and other the social movements that we're experiencing. And so to get that perspective from Peter and a perspective that's shared with many other artists is really important as we take into context all the art that's going to come from this current time.
Art documents history, and his artwork is extremely expressive. The paintings are amazing, and he, through his artwork, addresses social issues, social justice issues, such as immigration and police brutality. So I invite anyone to Google his name, take a few moments, and see what he is doing. And then it's going to be interesting to see going forward how the artists document this period of our history through this pandemic.
Well, we thank Peter very much for being with us on the program today, and we do encourage you to check out his and other local art from local artists as they continue to tell the story in many ways like we're doing here, to tell the story of the COVID-19 pandemic and other movements and different issues that we're dealing with in these very complicated and interesting times that we're in. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll be joined by Erica Jones out in the field to talk about why one local beach has been closed due to concerns with social distancing and other COVID-19 measures. And then we'll talk with the mayor of the city of Pontiac to start off the second hour of the program. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast on our family of TV and radio stations. Ronnie and I will return after this break.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, all throughout the local area in Oakland County on those stations on TV and radio. We're also online in high definition on Civic Center TV. You can watch us anywhere in the world that you so choose, on your telephone, on your cell phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your laptop, wherever you would like. And you can also listen to us online on lakesfm.com as well. In addition, today we're on the Facebook page of Oakland University, and we thank the entire team over at OU for joining us on this first OU Friday here on the Oakland County Megacast as we continue to bring you the latest news and information from around the Oakland County area. And one of our top stories today was about a local public beach that is now closed due to concerns over COVID-19. We have Erica Jones on site at that beach to tell us all the details you need to know about why that is closed and how long people can expect to no longer be allowed to be at that beach. Erica, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Tyler. So yes, I'm at Mercer Beach in Walled Lake, and the police department of Walled Lake has decided to close this beach because it's constantly overcrowded, as stated in their closure notice. And with Governor Whitmer's new order 151, they decided that without violating that order, they were not able to keep this beach open. So it is closed until further notice. There's no specific date as to when it is expected to reopen. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. And as you can see here, there are several barricades to make sure that no one is able to come to the beach. And it looks like no one is trying to come today. It's very empty. As you can see, no one's here. There are definitely some people walking around, maybe thinking it's open, but it is not. It is closed to the public and everyone else. And if you do violate these orders and try to come on the property or, past these barricades where I am right now, you can face a $90 imprisonment time and or a $500 fine. So they are taking this very seriously, not playing around at all. Cannot come to Mercer Beach in Walled Lake.
Erica, where can people get more information if they are confused on the rules about this or want to find out more as time goes on about when the beach may reopen? Where can people find more information on the closure of Mercer Beach and Walled Lake?
Yeah, so you can call the Walled Lake Police Department directly. I spoke with them this morning. They were more than willing and happy to talk to anyone who has further questions, or you can go on their website, you can find the closure notice, which I have right here with me, and they will be updating it as they have more information. But again, right now, there's no specific date as to when it plans to reopen. I think that they're just playing it by ear and seeing how the governor decides to handle things and making sure it's safe for everyone to be here, because it is normally a very crowded beach in the summer.
Well, Erica, thank you very much for that report. We appreciate it. Erica Jones out at Mercer Beach in Walled Lake, where a beach that's recently been announced to be closed to the public due to concerns with overcrowding. And of course, Erica mentioned that she got a lot of information from the local police department, and they're going to continue to update people on that situation as it continues forward, and potentially down the road may reopen. Of course, if you have questions about that and you want to call the police department, please call their non-emergency line, and you can find more information by searching on the Walled Lake municipal website to find that information. As we've seen many times, these public beaches be closed due to COVID-19 concerns and been reopened also in some cases, like in Kegel Harbor, of course, their public beaches were recently reopened. But we're going to continue to see this at places where the beaches are a little bit more crowded and have more people, especially during the summer months. But we'll continue to keep you updated on that as time goes on. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll come back. We'll go through our top headlines of the day, and then we'll speak to the mayor of the city of Pontiac, Deirdre Waterman. That coming up and more. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast on our family of TV and radio stations.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
The ball's in your court, Michigan.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. On television, we're on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. That is Civic Center TV in West Bloomfield, Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake. It is Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 on Birmingham area municipal access in Bingham Farms, Birmingham, Beverly Hills, and the village of Franklin. In addition, we're on two great community radio stations, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills as well. And today we are on the Facebook page of Oakland University, our Facebook partner today on this OU Friday. And we thank Oakland University and their entire team over there for being with us today as we continue to bring you the latest news and information from around the Oakland County area, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon here on the Oakland County Megacast and online on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. For our top story today, as we had mentioned with Erica, police have closed Mercer Beach in Walled Lake to the public. The Walled Lake Police Department said the closure is because the beach is consistently overcrowded and unable to operate without violating the governor's executive order. Violators will be issued a warning, and if they fail to comply, they may be arrested and fined. So this is something to definitely keep an eye out for if you are in Walled Lake or looking for a public beach to attend. Really in any municipality, if you're unsure if the beach is open or closed, you should contact the municipality or visit their website before you go.
And also their Facebook page. They are putting a lot of that information on as well. Not just closed due to coronavirus. There have been some area beaches that have closed due to E. coli concerns. So always a good thing to check before you go, especially if you're not close to that community. We get a lot of people from outside. So if you're going and you're packing up the car and you're packing up the kids, before you do so, just go online and check and see if it's open first.
You can find links to many of those municipalities' websites on our civiccentertv.com coronavirus page. As you can see, we have links to many municipalities in our coverage area, including places like West Bloomfield Township and the city of Rochester Hills and the city of Orchard Lake Village as well. Other top stories: coronavirus cases are down in Michigan prisons, but still a concern. Active cases of COVID-19 in Michigan's prisons have fallen since the novel coronavirus tore through the Department of Corrections in the spring and infected 10% of the incarcerated population. But experts, staff, and prisoners say now is not a time for complacency. All state prisoners have been tested for COVID-19, and at least once, a result of mass testing that began in April at certain facilities with outbreaks and was expanded following that month. Of the 37,192 protesters tested, results for 3,871 were positive. 11 people among the current population of more than 35,000 prisoners have active infections, the Michigan Department of Corrections Director Heidi Washington said when testifying to the Senate Oversight Committee. None of the prisoners sick with the coronavirus are currently hospitalized, she had said. The department is continuing to test prisoners on an individual basis as they are, of course, in close proximity to one another. They're continuously interacting with one another, whether they're in their cells or out in common areas. So testing in prisons especially is going to be something that's going to continue to be really key to make sure that that population in our local area is protected from the coronavirus as well.
This is a huge improvement from the springtime. Remember, there were even federal judges demanding the release of some of these prisoners. People were being let out earlier, some of the nonviolent criminals, because of the concern of the coronavirus spreading through the prisons. So you can't socially distance, so it's so hard to contain within the jail and prison walls. So this is a good sign that they're able to get these numbers down to where they are.
Other stories at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Though many are curious about how daily coronavirus numbers are compiled. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has explained how daily coronavirus cases are tallied. Initial test results are sent to the Michigan Disease Surveillance System by the lab that performed the test. Once the data is tabulated by the computer, any remaining discrepancies are reviewed and resolved by staff members. The process includes specific protocols to handle people who have more than one test or are living in a different county than the one where they were tested. Jim Collins, the director of the Communicable Diseases Division, said, "Every morning our staff is looking at laboratories before we report out to make sure that cases that the system thinks might be the same, but we can't say with 100% confidence, are evaluated by human eye." So the state and all their systems in place between the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services as they make their daily coronavirus case numbers announcement, and every other lab and testing site and compiling site in between is doing their due diligence, it seems, Ronnie, to ensure that these numbers are accurate on a daily basis, both for the announcement of the status check in our state each day on the coronavirus cases, but also to make sure that there's accuracy there as they're reporting back to those who have been tested.
Accuracy is so vital during this time because that's what's being used to determine whether or not we move forward or we move backwards in our stay safe mandates. So hopefully they continue to go down and we eventually move into phase 5. Remember, we thought that was going to happen by 4th of July?
Oh, man, those were the days. We're currently, of course, with that being spoiler alert, we're not in phase 5. We are currently in phase 4 of the Michigan Safe Start Plan. More information on that is on the state's website, and you can find a direct link to that and other COVID-19 information from the state of Michigan, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. If you're watching on TV or online right now, you'll see me circling that on our website as we continue to bring you the most up-to-date information on coronavirus cases in the state of Michigan, including today's information. Michigan reported 7 coronavirus deaths and confirmed 699 new cases yesterday, the highest single-day count in over 8 days. The 7-day average of new coronavirus cases in the state has dropped slightly to 586 per day, down from 594 daily, which was the average from the previous 7-day period, according to state data. Last week's total infections were an 11-week high for new cases, with 4,232 new cases confirmed over the 7-day period. This week to date is on track to record fewer cases than last week. The state's overall count has now reached 75,947 known cases, and the death toll is at 6,148, according to the latest update from the state of Michigan. Hospitalizations due to the disease are low relative to the surge in the spring, but are trending back up, which is a little bit of a cause for concern in this case. We've seen in recent weeks where the case numbers have increased, but the hospitalizations and the deaths have remained relatively low. Now we're looking at, we're at a point where the death number is still relatively low each day. The case numbers continue to fluctuate between a modest 485, 450 to 500 to a little more concerning 600 and higher, but hospitalizations are starting to trend back up.
I think that one of the reasons we were seeing the lower numbers in the hospitalizations was due to the demographic. We were seeing more people testing positive between that 20 and 29 age group. However, now they've had time to continue to interact with other people in the public and maybe elderly members of their family that, can, or if they do become exposed to the virus, they may have more severe reactions to the virus. So that could be contributing to those increased numbers.
That story and more on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus as we continue to bring you the latest information each and every day that we do this program on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, your latest COVID-19 and other top stories from around the local area, as well as links to local municipalities and their information, as well as reputable resources such as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the state of Michigan, and Oakland County, as we continue to bring new information from around the local area and local municipalities, including cities such as the city of Pontiac. And we are pleased to be joined now by the mayor of the city of Pontiac, Mayor Deirdre Waterman, with us once again on the Oakland County Megacast. Mayor Waterman, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me, and it's always a pleasure.
We appreciate having you on. And since we've last spoken, how have you been? How's the city been doing?
A lot going on in the city. Of course, we are reopening different facilities in the city, subsequent to being closed from the emergency, and we are phasing in and never stopped our service to the cities of Pontiac, and there's a lot going on here. And we're happy to be here to tell you about some of the things that we can appreciate in Pontiac. We heard that the beaches are closed, as you just had that announcement. Can't go to the beach right now, but you can certainly come to Pontiac parks, which are open and functioning. In fact, we're planning a whole series of events in conjunction with the census that's going on. We decided to have what we're calling Census Friday Night Music in the Park concert series. And we're going to have a variety of local bands each of the 4 Friday nights in August and enjoy that at various of our parks, as well as one event in City Hall parking lot. So we're anxious to announce that to people, accomplishing both to increase our numbers for people to fill out the census, which is important for us in Pontiac, to get our fair share of the funding that comes from that, from being counted, and also just giving people a chance to enjoy getting out of the house a little bit and having these drive-in concerts that will also keep people safe, use all the social distancing, but let them hear a variety of very popular local bands and entertainment that will be family-worthy.
For those that don't understand the importance of this sentence, can you explain why they need to respond? And are your response numbers down because it's been hard to get out and try to go door to door to encourage people to fill out the census?
It is important, and we have been working on this for over a year. As you know, the census was late starting because of some of the questions relating to the citizenship question. So we're starting from behind, but Pontiac had been one of the cities that was, I think, maybe undercounted in the 2010 census. So we were determined to make a much better showing this year. It was important because the census is the head count that the federal government does once every 10 years, so you only have every 10 years to correct that. But it has head count of municipalities and townships and cities. That determines your share of federal funding for a lot of projects, as well as it also determines how districts are compacted, such as if we drop population in Michigan, particularly in this area, we could stand to lose one of our representatives to Congress. So that's important to keep up our representation, and that's why we've had a large census committee. I've got a large umbrella of people who realize the value of the census, and so we have a census committee that's been working on that now for, as I said, over a year, and we have a motto in Pontiac that everyone counts, and so we're passing out the messaging using all kinds of umbrella organizations, reaching out to every demographic, getting help from pastors to churches, every ethnic community that we can reach out to make sure that they know that we need them to have their voice in by getting their census form filled out. Very simple this year. 9 questions, takes about 5 minutes to do for most people. But we're also going to have some of these events where people can also have census workers who are there with our iPads in store so that they can hand them out to people and they can fill out the census forms if they have not already done so.
Mayor Deirdre Waterman from the city of Pontiac with us on the Oakland County Megacast. You talk about the effort to make every voice count in the city of Pontiac through the U.S. Census, but another way that they can make their voices be heard is, of course, through the upcoming elections, both the primary in August and the general election in November. And we've been talking about this with a number of different other mayors and local city clerks as well, municipal clerks, as well as we're approaching the August primary election, and as we're upcoming a few months down the road to the general election with the new no reason absentee voting rules in place and the regulation that those ballots need to be in to the local clerk by the time that polls close on the day of election. It brings up some issues of potentially people getting their absentee ballots in and be counted in these upcoming elections. Is there anything that the city of Pontiac is doing to make that a little bit easier for those absentee voters in the city to make sure that their votes can be submitted safely and securely, and that they can ensure that their votes get into the city clerk and are counted in this election without worry that they may be late?
Yes, very importantly so, because we want to make sure that there is a open election in which votes are counted securely. So we've done a lot of things. In fact, our clerk's office has announced extended hours. Those are posted now. And so people can get their, first it was the applications for absentee ballots, and those are coming in great numbers. I think the clerk's office was already overwhelmed with the number of responses they got for people who wanted to have that no questions asked absentee ballot proposal. And so we've hired extra people to be able to handle those applications so people can get their ballots processed in time. So this just saves everybody time, particularly in this area of social distancing and having to wait in lines. We wanted to avoid that, to have as many people as possible vote with this absentee ballot proposal that is out there now.
Mayor Waterman, there's a lot of other exciting things happening in the city of Pontiac now, and really includes, it really starts off with this new Amazon site that's gone up in the city of Pontiac. And from what I've heard from your staff, they're beginning to hire staff there as well. What is the city of Pontiac doing in partnership with that local Amazon site to bring those workers in the city of Pontiac that maybe have been out of work during the coronavirus pandemic, potentially back into these great new jobs right in the heart of the city of Pontiac?
Right here, and Amazon, for those who don't know, is going up on what formerly was the Silverdome site. The Silverdome is gone. Amazon is going up, and they're going up in some instances 24/7 to get this facility constructed and ready for use and distribution of all those Amazon Prime deliveries that so many of us get at our doors on a regular basis. The first building is done, and that's the distribution station, and that will be open for truck deliveries starting August 1st of this year. So we did tour that with some of the district leaders from that area, and of course we are going to make sure that Amazon hears whatever needs to be done to remediate all the construction debris and dirt that's been going on. In fact, we will be having a town hall for that district people so that they can see that Amazon has done a great job of meeting their particular needs, as they've been under high construction over there for a while. So that's the first building. The second building, which is the fulfillment center, and many people don't know that to have both of those facilities on one site was the first time anywhere in the United States that Amazon has done this. Generally they've had to separate those two facilities. But the fulfillment center is the larger of the two buildings, and that won't be ready until August 1st of next year. And that's the one that is it's a model, a prototype model for how they're doing now, these fulfillment centers, and that's the first one right here in Pontiac. It's a huge structure. When you look at it, it's really imposing. It's the size of 44 football fields. And so it easily eclipses the size of the Silverdome, if you can imagine how big that is. But that's going to be the most high-tech version of fulfillment centers. It's highly mechanized and digitalized to be able to make sure that all those orders that people have come in, get through the process that Amazon has set up, get delivered or however mailed out, and so people can get those packages and the things they want on their doorsteps within a day or two. So that's going to be a pivotal Midwest center right here in Pontiac. And as I said, we're already going to open one of the buildings August 1st, and the larger one next year this time. So people will get their holiday presents, potentially right here from starting in Pontiac.
So the downtown area was seeing a bit of a resurgence prior to COVID-19, and then the pandemic hit. So many of the businesses and restaurants had to shut down. What's being done to help them reopen, and do you think they're all going to survive? What's the future for the downtown of Pontiac?
So, yes, we're doing a lot of things to support them, of course. There are aliquots or pots of money that we wanted to make sure that our businesses were aware of. In fact, we've had a number of Zoom town halls aimed at the business community and the support that's available. In fact, we had one Wednesday, and that one we updated people on what the latest pots of money that were available for our small businesses. And particularly, we announced something that I did as an executive order from my office as mayor, that a lot of the restaurants and eateries that now have reopened, but they have reopened with limited indoor seating capacities ordered by the governor. So what we're going to do, and particularly to take advantage of what's left of these summer months and early fall, is I issued an executive order so that restaurants and eateries can apply for a permit that they can get pretty quickly so that they can extend to outdoor seating. A lot of these businesses, restaurants and eateries have adjacent sidewalk or right-of-way space where they can set up a sidewalk cafe with tables and chairs pretty easily, or they in their parking lots or other right-of-ways that are available to them. So that's available to any restaurant and eatery in the city of Pontiac just by applying for the permit, and we are motivated and energized to do this with a quick turnaround. In fact, my planning department can turn those around in 24 hours so that for those who have been limited in their capacity for seating can now extend upon that and use the advantage of these nice summer days to be able to give people more sidewalk seating, and thus help to restore their businesses. A lot of them, of course, were adversely affected by having to close down during COVID. Some of them were not able to or have the capacity to do the curbside delivery. So we wanted to support them in their efforts to reopen not only the restaurants and eateries, but all the other businesses. We distributed, for example, hundreds of opening toolkits to tell businesses how to reopen their businesses safely and securely with all the new rules that are involved there. We also have had, as I said, various town halls and have given out the information about where loans and grants are available to our small businesses. So these have been very well received as people are having trouble keeping up with all the latest. We're here to help and serve them, and I have an economic development team that is on go with their help desk for any businesses that have questions about that we can give them the resources, and as well, we hope we will be able to have more people enjoy some of the dining with and supporting our restaurants and eateries, particularly the ones that are downtown, but it applies to restaurants and eateries all over the city.
Mayor Waterman, as we're approaching the fall and the schools in the city of Pontiac are getting ready to reopen, is there any assistance that is being provided by the city to help these schools and to help these local families who are maybe concerned about what they're going to do if they have to have virtual learning and the parents are maybe going back into work, or other concerns that may be apparent for these schools going forward?
It's been quite an adaptation for our families, not only in Pontiac, but all over the country, all over the world for that matter. So our school district, and once again, the school district is autonomous from the mayor's office.
Right.
The school district, of course, is run by an elected board of trustees, as well as a superintendent they appoint. So the city of Pontiac, as mayor's office, I certainly support everything they're doing, everything we're doing as a city to keep people safe and to get out advisories and to determine how they can reopen facilities is certainly dealt with by the school district. Now, we are going to be partnering, I hope, with the school district and the other schools of choice because a number of them, as they have anticipated bringing children back in the fall, for example, our school district has announced that as preliminary plan is that they're just going to have children staggered days. So right now the plan is just to have children on site for 2 days and then have half the population then and the other half of the population of students for the subsequent 2 days. So that means that parents will still be doing at-home learning with the Chromebooks and the materials that they have for virtual learning. So that gives us an opportunity to work with our other partners. We have in Pontiac what is the Pontiac Youth Recreation and Enrichment Center. And so now we are working with a number of our partners. We're going to announce another really big partner that has been away from the city for a number of years in a couple of weeks. But that's the Boys and Girls Clubs. And they're coming back to help with programming, both virtual program, as well as getting our youth center open so that parents will have some alternatives as they have had their children home on these 3 days during the school year and then all the time since the COVID emergency hit, that we will be able to offer them some activities, some enrichment, some tutoring during the Youth Recreation Center on the days when they're not in class and working actually on site at their particular school. So we're doing that, we're announcing that. There's some other partnerships we have to support our Youth Recreation Center, and such as Cranbrook Institute of Science has been a partner, doing STEM programming. Of course, we have all the things the kids love to do in terms of sports and athletics. So we're beginning to derive the plans by which we can bring that back into full force, of course, with the limited capacity and with all the rules involved in taking care of our children safely from the executive orders. So we are going to, we're now phasing in and beginning to work on the plans for reopening that Pontiac Youth and Recreation Center.
Mayor Waterman, just another couple minutes with you. Anything else that you would like to touch on today, or any other important information that the people of Pontiac should know about the city going forward?
Yes, we're getting out a lot of information to our public in terms of the changing paradigm because so much is changing so quickly. The most important thing, of course, is the health and safety and welfare. You know, it's our primary concern for our residents. And so there's a lot of things going on in this regard. For example, we are still moving ahead with a lot of the recreational activities and have gotten some grants or hope to get some grants to move that forward. One of the things that is of recreational importance is that Clinton River Trail, a good part of which runs right through Pontiac. So we're looking to partner with the group that is looking for a grant to restore the Clinton River Trail through Pontiac and make it more beautiful. We're doing that. We're also introducing to our parks, Hawthorne Park first, a recreational activity that doesn't depend upon social distancing, and that's disc golf. I know there's a lot of disc golf fans out there. So we're doing that at one park and hope to do it at others as we come along. So those are the kinds of things that we're offering as alternatives for people who aren't traveling as much maybe as they used to be, but who find in their own backyard ways to enjoy their community, still be safe, because we are dependent upon that for all of our safety. We want people to make sure they're following the social distancing, the hand washing, all those tried and true things that mitigate this disease, because we still need to control those numbers so that as we go back to our businesses, as we go back to our schools, as we go back to our churches, that we are doing it that way that's safe and secure and brings that curve down and keeps people healthy. And that's important, and not spreading the disease. So those are the kinds of things you asked about, hiring and jobs. And yes, Amazon is hiring, as well as some others. We're going to have a job fair pretty soon for our residents. Amazon has a number of positions that we have posted, and in addition to drivers, they're hiring other kinds of employees. So they're looking to do that for Pontiac residents as well as others right here. As I said, we're going to have a job fair. We'll announce that. For some of the other major businesses in Pontiac that are also hiring, right now we have 38 new building projects for people who are either coming to Pontiac or expanding. So we've got quite a bit of a flurry of activity for that. So we'll be making those announcements as time comes on the summer. We're also going to have something in terms of looking at what Pontiac is doing to have a voice in this whole conversation that's going on, not only for police reform, but for social justice. And there are a couple groups who have been working on that. I have decided what we're going to do in Pontiac is there's a term Pontiac United, and so I'm going to have a Pontiac Unity in the Community Day so that we can bring together the spirit that we have for safety, but for also having a voice in the things that we need to have and to have respect one another in the community for social justice. So we want all voices to be heard. We want to collaborate with so many people who have stepped up in this COVID-19, but also for all the ways that Pontiac is progressing and so many other fronts, particularly economic development, and particularly supporting people who, individuals as well, who need relief aid. Unemployment runs out at the end of this month, so we did announce the program through CDBG in which we had monies that we're going to be using to distribute to people who need mortgage assistance, rental assistance, or utility payment assistance. There are HUD rules and guidelines for that, but we have a help desk right here in City Hall, and people can reach that if they're interested in getting an application or getting help with filling out their applications. And that number is the hotline number 248-758-3300 or 248-758-3050. 248-758-3050. So we want to make sure people know that this money is available to them for people who have been struggling to keep the bills paid, but mortgage, rental, and utility payment assistance, we have those applications. Oakland County is administering that, but we are a help desk here to support people who, and if they don't qualify for that, then we can refer them to other sources of aid. So that's happening right here at the City of Pontiac. My executive staff workers have been trained to assist people to make the copies if they need copies, but we want that money to be available to them, and we're here to help them to get that because there's so many people out there now who are just trying to get back into their normal modes, maybe getting back to their jobs or haven't even gotten back to their businesses yet. So we want to help and support them because we're all in this together.
Yes, we are, Mayor. Yes, we are, Mayor Waterman. We thank you very much for all that information. So much exciting things going on in the city of Pontiac, and the city is keeping very active to help its residents out. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Appreciate that, Lawrence.
We appreciate it. Mayor Deirdre Waterman of the city of Pontiac with us on the Oakland County Megacast. It's so exciting to just hear everything that's going on in the city of Pontiac. It seems like every single time that we speak to Mayor Waterman and her team, there's some new program that's in place, there's some new initiative in place to continue to help move the people of the city of Pontiac forward through this coronavirus pandemic and continue to progress the city's resurgence and boom going forward in spite of the pandemic and before and after.
we always appreciate her sharing the information, and a lot of it you're hearing first here on Civic Center TV. So a lot of good programs for the people of Pontiac. Go ahead, if you did not catch the entire interview today, of course you can always catch it on our social media sites as well. That Boys and Girls Club initiative is going to be a huge relief to a lot of parents as the kids head back to school this fall.
Indeed it is, and we'll continue to speak more with Mayor Deirdre Waterman and her team at the City of Pontiac about these initiatives as they progress forward in time, and really exciting to hear that there's so much help going on for different community organizations and in different community facets from the City of Pontiac, and we thank Mayor Waterman for joining us today. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we spoke recently about the way that continuous closures of certain industries in the state of Michigan has impacted businesses throughout the state, and that includes spas. We'll have a local salon and spa owner on us next to see how that aspect of her business has been affected and how these new rules in place have affected the salon. That coming up and more on the Oakland County Megacast. We'll be back after this quick break. Ronnie and I will return with more. You are watching and listening on our family of stations.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now, it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and 88.1 The Biff out of Bloomfield Hills. And we thank them for joining us each and every day on the Oakland County Megacast as we continue to bring you the latest information and news from around the county area about different aspects of society that have been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, including our local small businesses. And we've spoken extensively with different small businesses in the area about how they've been impacted, and it includes different closures and different new regulations that have been put in place and how those have changed the dynamics and maybe even the entire business at these various places. And joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast, we'll be joined by the owner of Exhale Salon and Spa in Keego Harbor. Pam Wilson-Hewlett joins us on the Oakland County Megacast. Pam, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We appreciate having you on. How are you? How's your team at Exhale Salon and Spa?
Well, we're kind of like at a skeleton crew, but we're, taking all the necessary precautions to, keep with the governor's, steps to control this pandemic. So it's, it's been a little tough, but, we're managing. The doors will always stay open. And, it's great to see. It's great to be back and to see a lot of, clients where they're pretty much like friends and family. So yeah.
And I have to tell people, Pam is actually the person who does my hair. She does an amazing job. We needed a guest today. You've had to make a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments. How has that been to your overall bottom line?
Well, fortunately, I am a smaller business, so, the clients or the staff that we have here have been great with, complying. And being that I am a smaller business, I think that, it was it was pretty frightening at the beginning of it, just because, everything was so unknown. And, I also had a personal injury, which added to that, but always, having the idea that, the salon would not close without me closing it. So, so whether that takes, taking some of your personal savings or, you have to make the adjustment. So, but it also, allowed us, my husband and I, we needed to touch up a few things in the salon as well. So we redid our floors, we touched up some paint and just made it, we always like to make all things pretty. So, so I don't know. Hopefully that answered your question.
It did. One of the things we are hearing from some of the small business owners, they're having a hard time getting workers. How are you in that area? Do you need employees?
Well, not to keep the doors open. It's always nice to have nice staff. I always have my role here is we have a nice energy, a good energy, always good vibes. So kind of particular, I would say that. But just because we offer, our mission is pretty much just to keep everybody, make the world beautiful and always give off good vibes, and hopefully people walk out of here feeling better than they did walking in. So yeah.
Tell the people, what services do you actually offer right now? I know you had a spa as well. Did you have to cut down on those services, or how are you addressing that?
Well, we do offer massage services. Mr. Wes Valetti, he is our massage therapist, and you can make appointments with him online through our I think it's through our Exhale Facebook page, or you can call the salon 481-3727. So he's available, and he's working somewhat part-time, but he's using, all of the precautions that he needs to in order to conduct his business practices. Let's see, Stephanie, who you can see behind us, practicing. Hey, lady. Yeah, so we're kind of small staffed, but short staffed, but I would be willing to look into hiring even nail techs, somebody who has experience in eyelash extensions or makeup or any type of nail. I'd also be willing to offer a hiring bonus. So I just need to find the right people, So, but we're here and we're open and we're always busy. I can put it that way.
Coming through the pandemic, we never thought we'd see something like this happen. Are there any changes that you did during the pandemic that you may think helped you and you'll carry to the future, or are you just ready for this to be over and get back to things as normal?
Well, no, I think it's still necessary, to do the social distancing and also the mask wearing. I do, I have a temporal thermometer that if we have, anybody who is, may feel feverish. I've never really had to use that, but I also wipe down the chairs with Clorox wipes. I do the spray Lysol on the chairs. We use the capes. They are washed after every use. And, it's pretty much just wiping down the doorknobs, what people touch. And of course, there's always, we wash our hands all the time anyway. So I think it's a fairly, the environment is, free of, thank God, COVID. So I've been tested a couple of times also. So, and I think that that's important. It's, so I think that somewhat assures clients as well that at least I'm, on top of this, and, I care about them as well and for their safety as well.
When you first reopened, how hard was it to cut someone's hair or color their hair with them wearing a mask?
That adjusts. I mean, it's just the piece around the ear that matters. And if, most people have more than one mask. So after they finish their service, I think they're pretty good about just disposing of it. And, but that's not, of course, you just make adjustments. People will hold their nose. You hold their mask over their nose while, say you have to cut around or trim around the ears. That's. I mean, masks now are quite disposable. So, and we have a large amount of them now. So.
So going forward, what advice would you give to other small businesses on how you were able to survive this?
I think for me, it was grace of God. I'm not sure there's also, it's always about planning ahead and probably being, having your finances in order. So, when something like this does occur, which is unprecedented, but you have to have that 3-4 months worth of savings that's going to, keep your business going. At least that's what it was for me. So,
one thing with your salon, it seems like you have a very tight-knit clientele and a relationship with your clientele. Do you think that's what's helped you get through this time?
Absolutely. I mean, it's I mean, this place is a little bit of, steel magnolias, because it's like people who, people love to come here, and we love our clients as well. So we just try and make them feel as special as possible. And it's not even that feeling, it's just a genuine type of, relationship that we have. So, and without clients, you're nothing. So we're very fortunate to have, even back here, we have this last client who came all the way from South Carolina to get her hair done today. So that's commitment. That's family. So, so I just think, just having a genuine relationship with your clients and, that loyalty pays, a lifetime. And it's also about great friendships and relationships as well.
Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
Well, thank you for having me. And, it's nice seeing you yesterday, Ronnie. So it's always a pleasure.
And I will say, thank you for saving us. One thing I think, hi, Melody. I think people don't understand that they are real saviors for all of us from all that box dye. I probably dyed my hair 6 different times with the box dye. So that had to be a huge thing for you guys to overcome.
Well, we just kept saying that, you better hold on to that Trump check because you're going to need it to fix your hair, ladies. So any of that box color, it's, people don't say what they want. And desperate times, desperate measures. So, we get it, but, nothing like COVID hair. It's been a trip, but it's always a journey, but it's life, it's life.
Well, thank you so much. It was good seeing you guys, and thank you for saving my hair as well, and for all of the hairdressers out there. You have a true talent, and you are appreciated more than ever coming out of this pandemic.
Thank you.
We appreciate having you on. Pam Wilson-Hewitt, the owner of Exhale Salon and Spa in Keiko Harbor, with us on the Oakland County Megacast. So small businesses like hair salons and spas definitely have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course so has recreation such as outdoor play and of course high school sports. And we're going to talk to another local high school sports coach coming up after this break. Ronnie and I will return. You are watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast on our family of TV and radio stations. We'll be back in just a moment.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Ronnie Dahl in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, we're on 88.1 WBFH, the Biff and Birmingham Area Municipal Access. And today, we're on the Facebook page of Oakland University. It is an OU Friday here on the Oakland County Megacast. We appreciate Oakland University for joining us today as we continue to bring you the latest news and information and stories from the public about this COVID-19 pandemic as it continues on now into the month of July as we're approaching August. And that's definitely having an impact on our local schools as they approach coming back in the fall, and that includes our student athletes. And joining us now, he is a tennis instructor and tennis coach at both Troy, Athens, and Rochester high schools. Joining us on the program now is Axl Patalinghug on the Oakland County Megacast. Axl, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We appreciate having you on. How have you been during the pandemic?
At first it was kind of rough, but starting June, things started picking up to be normal, so that was good. But yeah, right now I think things are kind of okay in our industry, but still some tough things here and there.
So tennis is a fall sport, and practices have begun for many fall sports, including tennis, coming up as they're approaching their upcoming season. It's a sport that is relatively separated. You're maintaining your social distance on one side of the net versus the other, but you're passing around similar tennis balls, and in many cases some teams may be sharing rackets and so on. How are you able to maintain social distance and other COVID measures among your student athletes as you're practicing and preparing for the fall season?
So what we did mostly was the biggest change. We limited the ratio. So the ratio is one tennis professional per 4 students. Because in the past we would do like 1-to-6 ratios or 1-to-8 ratios, but I think the key there for keeping everyone safe was, that 1-to-4 ratio, and obviously telling like the kids or the athletes, just to maintain that 6-foot distance from each other. And another thing, I think a lot of the tennis professionals around like carry like hand sanitizer with them, or just other like sanitizing stuff to like wipe down carts, wipe down rackets, and just like always reminding those athletes, don't touch your face like during the session or whatever. So just like a lot of stuff like that mainly. And, kids are happy to comply, and, everything's been smooth from there.
These tennis matches during the regular season, they often occur on high school tennis courts that have multiple different courts within the general tennis area. So there's ability to spread out as a team, but you're still going there as a large team, whether you're traveling just as varsity, traveling just as junior varsity, or a combination. How are you going to be able to maintain that distance while players aren't necessarily on the courts in their matches, but still need to remain relatively distanced to maintain safety standards?
Right. So, I mean, I think I'm not sure what we're going to do in the fall with them, but I think we're not going to have public transportation. I think we're going to try to have try to get a lot of parents to help us out with the driving situation and stuff like that, just to, keep kids out of huge groups like that. Maybe just have 2 kids per car or whatnot. But other than that, we just got to keep telling them, like, maintain that 6 foot distance from them. Group cheers, group huddles, stuff like that. We're going to, keep that at a distance as well. So, just like very simple stuff like that. But, the biggest thing was like that transportation wise, stuff like that. So. Yeah.
Axl Patalinghug with us. He is the tennis instructor and tennis coach at Troy, Athens, and Rochester high schools. And there's a lot of concern going into the fall sports season for all these student athletes in the various sports that there's a possibility with COVID-19 still very much lingering on and the possibility for positive tests on your individual team or on teams that you match up with that could put a wrinkle into the season or potentially cancel some games and matches. What do you say to your student athletes as they're preparing for the fall and maybe they weren't a spring athlete and didn't experience what happened in March to prepare them to continue to still be motivated to play these games, but also know at the same time that at any point the season could potentially be over?
Right. So obviously, because we feel bad for the spring athletes who, especially the seniors who weren't able to compete for their last year or whatnot. But, we're still hopeful for the fall season. And kids are still pretty excited. They just want to get out there and compete and have fun. But, we just keep going on with practices and whatnot, try to be as normal as possible, try to normalize everything with all this stuff going on. So, for the most part, all the kids are still motivated, and we do tell them, like, if even one case happens, we're gonna have to shut stuff down for a little bit. So, they're all prepared for that. They all understand that, and are they're all prepared for whatever comes.
So, do the student athletes have to wear a mask while they're playing tennis, or just like on the sidelines? How does that work?
So, for Troy Athens, for example, walking to and from the courts, they are required to wear a mask and maintain that distance. And then when they're playing, they can remove the mask if they're comfortable. But I do have some players who will still wear their mask while they play. So it's just all personal preference there. But for the most part, just going to and from the courts, just that middle ground in between, they are required to wear masks and stuff. So, yeah.
Axl, with the uncertainty approaching this season, we've spoken about what you've said to your team before, but just from a standpoint of being a former high school athlete and understanding the motivational factors that go into competing at that level or at any level of sport, do you imagine or are you already experiencing that there's a higher level of motivation to compete and to be a strong player and improve because of the knowing that at any point the season could be over and that could be your last time stepping onto the court as a high school tennis player?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was growing up and, entering my final year of high school, I was definitely extra motivated to, do my best, perform my best, just because it could have been my last year competing at that level. And I definitely see it. And I only saw that, between junior and senior, but I'm definitely seeing my younger players, like freshman, sophomore, really like amping it up and taking it seriously, just because, we don't know how long this is going to last. Maybe this could be their last year as a sophomore, as a junior, so, they're ready to compete, and they're ready to give it their all when the time comes. So, they're just not going to take anything for granted for the most part from what I'm seeing, which is good.
Axl Patalinghug, he is the tennis instructor and tennis coach at Troy, Athens, and Rochester High School. He also is a former Oakland University tennis club player. Axl, as they're approaching their season as well, how do you imagine that the onset of playing college sports might look different this fall as opposed to it has previously?
It'll definitely be different just because in all college sports in general, for the most part, I think they're going to try to push to have this season, but, definitely with no spectators and stuff like that. So that will be, I think, a really harsh change for them just because, most athletes, they play for more than themselves. They'll play for family, they'll play for friends. So without having like limited audience and spectators there, I think that will be pretty tough for them. But at the end of the day, you are there for yourself, you're there for your team, you're there for your school. So, they'll still find that motivation to compete at that high level.
Axl, anything else you'd like to say or anything else you'd like to touch on today before we let you go?
No, I mean, I guess the most common theme here is for my players and for like me seeing people at different levels, just like, continue to work hard and be prepared for whatever. Don't take anything for granted because you never know when it's going to be your last season, whether it's like a pandemic like right now or a season-ending injury. Just, I guess live in the moment and enjoy what you're doing. So, yeah.
We appreciate having you on today. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Axl Patalinghug, he is the tennis instructor and tennis coach at Troy, Athens, and Rochester High Schools with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Also a former college club player for Oakland University's tennis club as well. And good to get his perspective on a different sport that's a little better social distance maybe than a sport like football or soccer that's a little more physically interactive and has more contact. But nonetheless, these student athletes, no matter what sport they're playing, are going to have their season impacted by COVID-19, whether it be through extra regulations in place or inconveniences in team travel or these intimate team moments that maybe are not as interactive as they were previously, or the potential for season games, matches, whatever they may be, to be canceled or the season to be done. There's definitely going to be a different feel to this upcoming high school sports season, like in any other league, college, or professional.
What's hard is there are traditions surrounding so many sports, and it's so hard to break those habits surrounding, remaining socially distant or, the huddles, things of that nature. So it's going to be hard to break those habits and those traditions. But on top of this, you really feel badly for the seniors because they're the ones that are trying to get the scholarships for the fall or even the college athletes that are on scholarships. This impacts them in so many ways, not just in the game-to-game way, but in so many other ways that can have a lasting impact on their future. Like, what if they don't get that college scholarship that they need because their season was ended early? So there are a lot of facets to student to the student athletes and these sports and how this is going to impact them going forward. Let's just hope that this is the last year that we see this pandemic and we don't go through another one.
Absolutely. And I think that no matter how long we see these sports go on at any level, from recreational to high school, college, and professional, I think we're going to see in the coming months some of the best competition we've seen in a long time, as these athletes are going out there with a greater understanding of what it means to live through that cliche of play like it's your last time out on the field, out on the court, whatever the sport may be. As we wrap up this week, we're going through so many different changes during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it makes a lot of different changes to the way that we interact with other people and do so politely and courteously. And we recently spoke to the etiquette guru, Stacey Amy, who says that people should be honest with others about their discomforts regarding social distancing, mask wearing, and other COVID-19 guidelines so that guidelines can be set in those social situations and everybody can interact respectfully without making others concerned. This is what she had to say on those matters recently on the Oakland County Megacast.
Communication is key. If you are uncomfortable and you're hosting a party, you need to be upfront and honest with people and just kindly tell them, please, will you put your mask on? If it's your home, it's your home, and you have that right. And I think as long as you're respectful and communicate your wishes to people, they will be, if they're your family or people that care about you, they will absolutely be respectful and receptive to what you're asking them. And if it's the flip side and it's you not wearing a mask, and I would just ask people, if I've had friends come over to my home and I ask them, would you like me to put a mask on? When I'm outside, I'm a lot more comfortable social distance and not wearing a mask. But in that inside setting, you just don't know this. It's a virus. And it's serious and it's unpredictable. So just protect yourself. And like everyone else has said before me this morning, wear your mask until we get this under control.
from Stacy Amy, the etiquette guru, on the Oakland County Megacast on one of our recent episodes. You can find that and all of our other full episodes, full interviews, and short clips like that on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. In addition, if you go to civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, you can find our latest news and information about the coronavirus. We update these stories Monday through Friday when we do our programming from 10 a.m. to 12 noon here on the Oakland County Megacast. In addition, we have access to reputable resources from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan, and Oakland County, as well as your local municipality, so that you are ready to go with all the information you need to know and updated information that you can trust from straight from those sources, as there's so much misinformation out there about COVID-19 and other stories. We'll continue to keep you up to date on the coronavirus and more as we go forward. That is going to do it for this week's episodes of the Oakland County Megacast and today's episode as well. We'd like to thank our entire crew: Larry Nyland, our Zoom producer, our booking producer, Jake Kustash, field reporter Erica Jones, as well as our guests and Facebook partner, Oakland University, Dr. Michelle Piskulich. From Oakland University, Artist Peter Bernal, Mayor Deirdre Waterman from the city of Pontiac, Pam Wilson-Hewlett from the Exhale Salon and Spa in Keagle Harbor, and Axl Patalinghug, a tennis coach at Troy Athens and Rochester High School. We will be back on Monday with more. You have been listening to the Oakland County Megacast on a family of TV and radio stations.